Good evening, everybody, and welcome, 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 welcome. Just get my shirt adjusted here. It's always a lot different when you come on camera. You can see it better than when you are doing the pre-show. I don't know why. Things just work out that way. Well, welcome. Voice is going. I'm sorry. I hoped that the precipitation would wash away all the cedar and my allergies and everything else, and I'd be a lot better. But it's getting towards the end of the month. My monthly allergy shot is this Thursday coming up, so I'll be a lot better once that happens. We've also got, why am I not straight? Golly. Come on, shirt, cooperate. Okay, there we go. Looks like my head's on my body wrong compared to this shirt, I guess. I don't know. And everything's backwards, so it makes it even more difficult. Anyhow, the reason we're here is to talk about this fantastic book. This is the second in a series of James C. Jones's books that we've discussed. If you are new to prepping, if you are here and you haven't got joined into the chat and you're brand new to prepping, this is a must-have in your library. There will be a link for it. There is a link for it down below. Get it. Go through it. This is a fantastic place to start. Mr. Jones has a combination. I believe he has 6 different books out in the market right now. I would get all of them. Start with this one and use that as a basis for how you're going to develop your overall survival plan. So that's what we're here to talk about. We're going to do three or four paragraphs tonight. I would go further, but I want to do one paragraph all next week. It's going to be, how do you survive nuclear war? A lot of bad information out there, a lot of terrible information. He knows his stuff. He's got it down in here, and we're going to go through that because nuclear war is survivable. Most people don't realize it. 1 year after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 75% of the population was still alive and well in both cities. So don't believe the Carl Sagan T-TAPS end of the world, everything's going to be a Holocaust, it's going to be a nuclear winter. Don't believe the Annie Jacobs book on nuclear warfare. That's all scare tactics, okay? Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about the reality of nuclear war. Now, it's not going to be a pleasant thing, I can guarantee you that, but it is survivable. And I think somebody put in whether you can hear me or not, I hope. I haven't. I got so excited I forgot to check and see. Do me a favor. Can you hear me? Can you see me? And let's see if we can get something in there. I'm getting all kinds of hi Scots and hi Theoxeris, but I'm not getting in. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Scott. I think Scott was the first one here tonight, too, when I checked through earlier. So let's get scrolled up here and see what we can find. I just found out recently, did not know it, that on my Apple, if you'd use 2 fingers on the finger thingy, that's the same thing as the down wheel or whatever on a regular mouse. Okay, so KP Heathen was the first one here this evening. Good evening, welcome. Scott, right after him, probably within seconds. Patricia Butler, good evening, welcome to you as well. And Higgy Homestead, and let me see who else do we have here. I know I saw Sue Me right after I came, or right before I came on, and she's up in Canada, so she's getting this. What we're getting is only an aftertaste of what she's getting up there. So Canada's really getting it. Rick from Ready Magazine. Good evening, Rick. He's posting a couple links. We are trying to get a local chapter here in Austin together. Rick and I are. And so if you're in the greater Austin area or you're watching this and you want to be a member of a group, then join us. And he's going to put some links in there where you can join us both on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Sumi got her car back. That's fantastic. Let me see, Pat Butler, Sumi. L-Dog, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. Lone Star Prep, Lone Star. I'll tell you where my mind is. Little Lone Prepper, good evening. Welcome. I think we're catching up here pretty much. And Suzanne Goulet, good evening. Good to see you as well. Theoxorus, there he is. And Creative Redundancy and Ohio Valley Prepping. And Kaylin, good evening, Kaylin. So all of our great, normal, ready people are here. That's fantastic. So anyhow, we got 4 chapters this evening. I've got a little bit on one. I've got a whole bunch of books here. I'm going to show you a show and tell on one of them because it's an extremely important topic. How do you keep your mind when everybody around you is losing theirs? You'll be a man, my son. No, we aren't going to do Rudyard Kipling. We'll do a couple other things. But let's go ahead and get into this. Paragraph 10. We did 101 and 102 last week, so we're going to start at 103. Is basic home safety a necessary part of survival preparedness? Absolutely. I think I would like to write a book on debunking false premises of preparedness and survivalism. And one of them is not everything is a bug out situation. And to me, my personal opinion, and reading, he doesn't come out and say it, but reading Mr. Jones, I think we're both of the same genre. So we're both, within a couple of years of each other. So we've been through the Cuban Missile Crisis all the way up through Rambo and the bug out phenomenon and everything else. So we've seen everything that's happened over in preparedness and survivalism since about 1963. And so I think I can read enough in here to where he's of the same mind I am. Primarily hunker down, only evacuate if you have to, and only become a refugee, which is what a bug out person is if you are forced to leave your home. Here's the thing. When you bug out, you don't know the condition of the roads. You don't know the conditions of the areas you're going to pass through. You don't know whether the place you intend to go to is already occupied or not. Who else has thought of that place as a fantastic bug out location? You've got only so much you can carry on you, whether that be ammunition, whether it be food, water purification, anything else, clothes, you name it. You're limited to what you can carry, okay? If you hunker down at home, you've got all that. Plus, you've got a defendable area. And so, probably the first thing you should consider is how do I fortify my own private personal Alamo, my home, and how do I make that something that I can survive with for the long term? That's what I'm doing. It's my primary. I've got about 8 other people, not about 4 families that are coming over here once it happens, and they're all bringing. I have a list of things that I told them to bring with them. We have rules. Fish and friends stink after 3 days. Well, we're going to be locked up in here during the die-off, the first 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. So we're going to get on each other's nerves. That's just, that is, and we're going to talk about that in a paragraph or 2 here later. But, we're going to be here. We're going to be able to defend. There is unity. There's strength in a group. Remember, as a lone wolf, or even as a couple who goes out into the world evacuating, you've got to sleep sometimes. So if you're a lone wolf, then one of the things you have to worry about is who's watching over you when you're sleeping. And so when one of the guys and I were talking, we had breakfast together Friday, and I said, look, here's who am I inviting? Here's my criteria. Can I go to sleep with you in my house? Do I trust you enough to where I can sleep while you're awake? If I can answer that truthfully, yes, I can sleep comfortably while you're in my house. You're not going to kill me. You're not going to take everything I have. You're not going to assume everything I have. That's the people I'll invite to my home. Okay. So there's also, if you look at it, we're also all pretty much of the same religious conviction. So, one of the things I say in there is we pray. And so, for example, we do the Angelus at 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. There are certain things that happen. I do the Chaplet of the Divine Mercy, and I know Earl does as well at 3 p.m. every day. We pray the Rosary every day. So there are certain things that we do habitually to exercise our freedom of religion on a daily basis. If you can't accept that, don't come. Okay, I've got 2 Protestants who are coming, and the rest of us are all Catholics. And I say, look, guys, I respect the way you believe. You respect the way I believe. Okay, that's going to be the condition for you coming to my fortress here. So he talks about some things here, and one of them I've told you before is my biggest fear, and that's fire hazards. So basic home safety is a necessary part of survival preparedness. Fire safety. Here in the greater Austin area, the very first night of the freeze, we had 3 homes burned down. And I'm sure that's operator error. What they probably did was they probably had a malfunctioning Mr. Heater. They probably didn't check it before the frost came, or they were using candles or some other things, and they didn't follow some basic precepts like have a carbon monoxide detector, have a smoke detector, have a fire extinguisher, have a fire guard watch. Never leave an open flame going unless there's somebody tending to it, making sure that it's not tipping over, falling, burning, something else. Make sure you have basic fire safety conditions set in your home. He talks about fire hazards, and that's one of my biggest fears. Fire hazards, an inability to control human waste, and the diseases that's going to cause, along with parents whose children are starving. Those are my 3 biggest fears. A parent whose kid is starving will go to no length to feed that child. And so those are my 3 big fears. And he talks about fire hazards in here. Make sure you take a look at it. Chemicals and medications, make sure you have them all out of the reach of children. Acids, corrosives, things that can combine together that create explosives or carcinogens or even caustic substances. Make sure you keep those out of the hands of children, keep them locked up, keep them away from anywhere where that can accidentally happen. You don't want to, for example, have sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid in the same area. You just don't want to do that. There are certain basic safety in your home, in your retreat, let's call it. Make sure that you're taking care of business. Make it safe. That's just one of the key things. Another thing you got to be concerned about if you have children. My grandchildren are infatuated with my pew-pews. I mean, just one of them is, the younger one. He wants to be a soldier like Grandpa because Grandpa has pew-pews. Grandpa was a shooter. And they're just totally infatuated with them. So make sure you have provisions, either locked in a gun safe, or you have trigger locks on all of them, or you remove the firing mechanism. Just make sure that if there are children around, until you have them totally trained in staying away from and avoiding or knowing how to operate a firearm, they don't have access to them, okay? Because just playing with it, they can accidentally harm somebody else, and you don't want that to happen. My theory is, once they're here, let them have access to it. Of course, we won't have a firing pin, but let them have access to it so that they become comfortable with it, and then teach them how to use it. Teach them that it is a tool, not a toy, okay? And that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. I was going to be doing. The children are now in New Jersey. I don't think they'll be coming here. Fire blanket. Who said that? Kaylin Strain. Yes, a fire. So we have a fire extinguisher in every room, and then in the kitchen we have. You got 2 if you bought them together. You got a cheaper price if you bought them 2. So we have 2 fire blankets in the kitchen, but we have a fire extinguisher in every room. And I showed in one of my last videos. I can't remember which one it was. I know which one it was. It was the 3 I put out for surviving the apocalypse, the snowpocalypse. I showed how to check the gauge on your fire extinguisher. Check those on a regular basis, probably monthly would be best, or at least every time you check your smoke detector's batteries. But make sure that that arrow showing that the canister is still pressurized is in the green and has enough pressure where if you pull the handle, you got enough CO2 that's going to go out to suppress the fire. Wow. Scott says he's had 3 ads this evening. YouTube is making some money. And hopefully I am too, just a little bit. But haven't seen a check now in like 3 or 4 months. I need a lot bigger following and a lot more hours watched in order to make any big bucks. I'm monetized, but I'm just not growing as fast or or having the views that is necessary for big money. I'm not even having enough views for small money. Crying out loud. Okay, paragraph 104. I'm going to read the entire paragraph. It's only half a page. Okay, this is really, really important. Okay, is there any way to reduce my stress level and calm my nerves during a survival emergency? When something really bad happens, we get a surge of adrenaline that can work for and against us. See, Mr. Jones and we just think so much alike. Everything has a positive, it has a negative. It can work for us, it can work against us. Once we've escaped the immediate danger, we need to calm our nerves so we can perform our next survival action. Controlled breathing can help reduce shaking, lower blood pressure, and adjust carbon dioxide levels in the blood. This technique is also used by police and military going into combat situations. So he teaches the technique, inhale slowly for 4 seconds. So count to 4 while you're inhaling. Hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly. Let it out for 4 seconds. Wait 4 seconds and repeat. Okay. So it's just the suck in for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, wait 4, repeat. That's it. And what you're doing is you're calming yourself down. This is a big concern of mine, a very big concern. So I want to show you some things. This is, in my opinion, this is the best book on the subject. And I'll put links to these down in the show notes. The Unthinkable. Who survives when disaster strikes and why? And look at all the pages I have tabbed, all right? It's just really good. This is the best book I've read so far on the subject, okay? Another real good book is The Devil Never Sleeps, okay? Learning to Live in an Age of Disasters. So got a couple pages tabbed there too, as well. There's just a fantastic book on what you need to do psychologically to prepare for as well as endure something that is pulling at you during a disaster situation. This is a good one. I'm only about halfway through it. Warrior Mindset. And so it's how, and it talks in here basically the same thing. He's talking about where I'm at right now. He's talking about your pulse rate. And so, he talks about different levels of pulse rate. At 115, certain things happen. You don't have fine trigger control and all this kinds of stuff. He does everything based upon your pulse rate. He says once your pulse is over 85, you're starting to get into a little bit of decreased motor skills, okay? And so he talks about you need to do some things to get your pulse rate down and calm yourself. One of the techniques he talks about is the exact same thing that Mr. Jones is talking about in this book, and that is controlled breathing exercises. Now, another real good one. This one starts out kind of weird. This is Gavin DeBecker, and it's The Gift of Fear. This has been out, I think, for 25 years. I know this is the 25th edition, but anyhow. And he's got a video series out on this now too. And he talks about how being afraid is one of those things that we need to develop in our survival situations, so that we develop that sixth sense of this doesn't feel right. How can I make this not feeling right go away? What can I do to escape the situation that's not making me feel right? The book starts off with a young lady, 27 years old. She's going home. She lives on the 4th floor of an apartment building. I'm going to assume New York City, somewhere like that. Some guy's following her. Her bag rips, cat food all over the place. He offers to help her. She finally gets up to the 4th floor, unlocks her door, starts to go in, and he goes in, and for 3 hours, she is his victim. She starts noticing some things, okay? He pulls, as he gets out of bed, pulls his clothes back on, and starts to leave, but as he's starting to leave, he closes the window, okay? Then he walks by and he turns the stereo up. Then he goes to the kitchen. And so while he's in the kitchen, she sneaks out across the hall to her neighbor's apartment, gets inside, locks the door. It turns out this guy has done this before, and he stabbed his victim to death. Well, all those signs that she picked up on subconsciously, closing the window, creating a sound barrier. Of course, he was pointing a gun at her this whole time. Oh, happy birthday, Pat. I did not realize. Well, maybe now that you're old enough, maybe we can go out and have a drink together. But anyhow, he closes the window for sound barrier. Then he turns the music up, which is another increase the noise so that people can't hear her screaming. He's looking in the kitchen in the drawers, most likely for a knife. That's when she makes her exit. So this book works on how do you perfect your observation skills and your sixth sense to say, this is not right, I need to get out of here, okay? And those are going to be the skills you're going to need in a post-apocalyptic world. So I asked ChatGPT to give me a list of books that it recommends as being the best books on the market for maintaining sanity and keeping your mind about you so that you can handle complex situations in a disastrous situation. Number one, it says the number one book that it recommends is this one here, okay? That I told you, this is one of the best books I've ever read on the subject. Number two, and I have to order it tonight, is Deep Survival, Who Lives, Who Dies, and Why, by Lawrence Gonzalez. Then contextual and reflective books on catastrophe and human response, A Paradise Built in Hell, the extraordinary communities that arise in disaster. The Devil Never Sleeps, I told you that was a good one. Learning How to Live in an Age of Disasters, and then Positive Psychological Approaches to Disaster, Meaning, Resilience, and Post-Traumatic Growth. Remember, some of us are going to have post-traumatic stress as a result of some of the things we're going to see, have to do, decisions, moral dilemmas that we're going to have to make, okay? Choices that we're going to have to make. Mountain Rescue on their Facebook page, Mountain First Aid and Rescue or something like that, asked the question, you've got a guy with you're in a catastrophic condition and the guy is bleeding and he has no heartbeat. What do you do? And so the test was, what are you as an individual going to do? And so my response, and there were about 8 of us, he said, you guys got it. I forgot about the part of, a catastrophic area. Maybe there's a threat, there's gunfire and all this other stuff going on. I was more concerned about the victim. And, but he said, make sure you make the area safe before you go in. But I said, it depends on a pre-SHTF environment. I would go in. First thing you got to do is you got to stop the bleeding, because if you do CPR, there's no heartbeat. It says he's bleeding and no CPR, or there's a blood pool and no CPR. First thing you got to do is if you start pumping the blood again and that blood's coming out a hole, you're not doing any good. Okay, you got to plug that hole. After you've plugged the hole, make sure that there's still blood that can be circulated inside the body. Then you can do CPR. That's in a pre-SHTF environment. If it's a post-SHTF environment, and I can't get that person to a center, an AIDS center, a hospital, an urgent care clinic, or something like that, that can give him intravenous fluids. And the preferred thing is going to be, if he's had a loss of blood, you want to get whole blood into the body as quickly as possible because of the loss. You need to get that blood circulating in the body. If that is not readily available, and they call it the golden hour, you want to get, so once I get that body, once I get him established, and once I start the CPR and get his heart beating again, I need to get him into a trauma center within an hour. If that can't be done, you're not going to be able to save him. So in a post-SHTF environment, if I know that there's no urgent care clinic, I know there's no ER, I know there's no whole blood readily available within an hour's reach for me to get into that body, I told him I am going to say a little prayer and move on, okay? And those are the tough dilemmas that you're going to be forced with, that you're going to have to make tough decisions on. Those will come back in your dreams later in life, I guarantee. When both of my parents in the hospital, Dad had a massive heart attack. He was without blood flow for 12 minutes. They got his blood flow back. They got his heart working again in 12 minutes. They said there's a 99.99% chance that there is severe brain damage, and you won't know your father and he won't know you when he wakes up. Do you want us to continue artificial life as far as, intubation and everything else? And I said no. And then my mother broke her hip, and she was 93 when she broke her hip. Dad was 88 when he had his massive heart attack. He was in the hospital for a very serious infection, ICU, critical condition, and we think that the infection caused the heart attack. But Mom was in, and she went in, had a total hip replacement. She never recovered from the surgery. She never came out of the anesthesia. And so we had to make the same decision with her to withdraw life support. Those are not things that you do easy. And even though you think you do the right thing at the time, you're going to second guess yourself for the rest of your life. You're going to worry. You're going to wonder, did I do the right thing? I mean, I do the same thing with my Chihuahua. I had a 15-year-old black long-haired Chihuahua, and she could barely move. She couldn't, her back was so messed up. I'd take her out back. She would go poo-poo and fall into it, and that's not the life for a girl that was that sweet. And so we took her into the vet and asked her if we could speed up the natural process of her going on to doggy heaven. And that, so one of my nightly prayers is, Mom and Dad, forgive me. And Izzy, I love you. I'm sorry I had to do that. I wish you were here with me. Just think, those are not the trauma that we're going to be exposed to in a post-apocalyptic world. And so that rubs on me. And I study this stuff. I'm really trying to get a hold of myself, really. So, hey, Triple G, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. So we're going to make some decisions that are going to be stressful decisions. You've got to get your mind right. One of the things that the Catholic Catechism says is you can never do something bad in order to accomplish something good. Okay? So you can't do bad to accomplish good. And it also says that we respect life from natural conception until natural death. So the dilemma comes in with, if you withdraw artificial life support, is that euthanasia? And the answer to that, morally speaking, is no, because the person would have died if you had not put the artificial life into them. So the natural life process was already terminated. You're keeping it alive artificially. So withdrawing the artificial life, you're allowing the natural process of expiration to occur. So that's the moral foundation behind that. Okay, so let's get into some more. Mental health. Mental health and disasters. It recommends Yuval Neria, Sandro Gaia, and Fran Horace. Memoirs and personal accounts of disasters, which illustrate human strength, perspective, and psychological endurance when the dust settles. Stories of love, loss, and hope from an expert in disaster by Lucy Easthorpe. And then finally, some bonus reads, and I read one of these two, which is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So just a fantastic book on finding the meaning of your life, okay? And I swear, Viktor Frankl and Abraham Maslow, who came up with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid, they should have collaborated. These two guys, they see things an awful lot alike. I think the two of them probably should have collaborated. We'd probably have a really, really robust, all-inclusive model if the two of them had. Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand and Endurance by Alfred Lansing. So, those are some of, I'll have this list and links in the show notes. Because I probably will not go to breakfast tomorrow morning. We've had sleet and ice here up until this morning. Today it thawed a little bit. It got up to about 36 degrees where I am, which means that all that ice converted into water. It's not warm enough to where all that water has evaporated or moved off. So now it's down to 30 again. So all that water is going to turn into another sheet of ice. So tomorrow morning, when it's time for me to go to my breakfast, the roads are going to be pure ice. I'm not going to go. So I will work on this instead of going to my breakfast in the morning, and we'll see what's going on. Let me get my glasses on. Troy Heald, 77. Welcome. You're from Bedford, huh? We're in the greater, so Rick, which is Ready Magazine, and I are in the greater Austin area. So you can come down and see us. Good evening. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Methane Creator, one of my favorite people. He's up in Bell County. As a matter of fact, he's the head of the Bell County Preparedness Group. What a great group of people that is. And Methane Creator just has he and I communicate daily. Just a really, really good guy to have available to supply more information to you. The guy is a font of knowledge, sends me something, teaches me something almost every day of the week. So what does he say? 2 weeks after a chaotic world-changing disaster, my mental health and stress factors will be spent, and I will need to sit and contemplate my next survival steps to protect me and my family. I'm fairly certain you are absolutely correct. I'm fairly certain that's going to be most of us. And so we don't want to exacerbate that by having people we can't trust in our vicinity. I think you and Kevin and Pat and the rest of the group, I think you've got a good group. I think you've got some good people you can trust that have your back and you have their back. And I think, if it weren't for what I have down here, I would definitely head up towards your place because you guys have got your stuff together. As we used to say in intelligence, you got all your poo-poo in one burn bag, folded 3 times and stapled twice. So, that means you got all your stuff together. But I really like your group. Another group I really like, and as a matter of fact, Bell County, which is Methane Preparedness, switched their meeting day just for me, or at least it feels that way. San Antonio, John, has their meeting the second Saturday of the month. Bastrop Viking Preparedness has their meeting the second Saturday of the month. And Bell County was having their meeting the second Saturday of the month. So I was kind of having to alternate among the three. And so Methane Preparedness was kind enough to switch theirs to the third Saturday of the month. So now not only can I go to 2, each month, but then he can also go to one of those other 2 with me on an occasional basis. So yeah, things are looking great. Pete, Triple G Farms, do me a favor, contact, this is the guy I was telling you about when we were talking, Methane Preparedness. And so he is in Bell County and Pete is in Lampasas County, just the other side of Fort Hood from where you are. So the 2 of you probably need to get together, and that would be a great group to get together and kind of get things working there. Okay, so that kind of works up on the reducing stress levels and everything else. What can you do? I want to say having a good moral, ethical compass is going to be number 1. I told you I still want to get it put together. I've got the cards here, ordered them. I want to get a panel of people here and discuss these conflicted cards. They give us moral dilemmas in a post-apocalyptic world. One was done on a YouTube channel, or no, I'm sorry, on a Facebook channel here just the other day, and it says there's a child and an elderly woman. So you kind of assume it's the grandmother, and the two of them are at your door begging for food. What do you do? Well, that's a very common trap, is to use people who appease your sense of protection. A young child, a female child, is somebody you want to naturally try to protect. An elderly woman is somebody you would naturally want to try to protect. So having the two of them together is somebody you really want to try to naturally protect. So how do you naturally protect them at the same time naturally protecting yourself? Is it a trap? How do you prove it's not a trap? How can you prepare for it if it is a trap? Do you help them at all? What if you don't help them at all? All these different questions come into play. You can start thinking these things out ahead of time. What will I do if? That's what the conflicted cards do, is they walk your mind through some of these things and say, what will we do if? And so preparing yourself for it that way, doing some exercises, asking yourself some of the tough questions. What will you do if somebody shows up, family member, and you've got a 2-year supply of food for 8 people, okay? So that equals 16, right? So now you've got number 17 comes on board. So what do you do now, right? Do you let that person in? Do you give them something, send them away? How do you handle that kind of a situation? So those are some of the decisions you need to walk through ahead of time and have your mind straight on in order to cope with those in a real world situation, okay? Okay, and then the last one we'll talk about this evening is number 105, is being armed necessary for a survivalist. And of course, the answer we're going to have to give you is yes. He's got a couple fantastic pages in here. He makes some recommendations as far as firearms. He recommends a shotgun for self-defense. I recommend a shotgun not only for self-defense, but for hunting. Remember that migratory birds, squirrels. When I lived when I was at NSA in Fort Meade, I lived in Anne Arundel County, and there was all kinds of wooded area. You could go squirrel hunting with a shotgun. You could not go squirrel hunting with a gun because it's so populated. But in the areas where there were trees and everything, you could go in those areas with a shotgun. And so make sure you have plenty of not only double up buck for humans and slugs for humans, but you could use slugs for a deer. You probably want to have some number 4 shot for some other game. Then you might want to have some number 6 and some number 7.5 as far as birds, whether they be turkeys, birds, squirrel, other ground animals, rodents, and things like that. So make sure you have a wide variety of shells for your 12 gauge. He talks about having the 5.56 platform. Just do me a favor. I have 5.56 and 2.23. Just remember that a 5.56 round should not be shot in a 2.23 chambered weapon. You can do it a couple times. The 5.56 military has a higher chamber pressure than does the 2.23. So the 2.23 you can safely put into a 5.56. So military, not in civilian. Civilian can go into military for the 5.56. It's the total opposite for the 7.6251 and the 3.08. Okay, so .308 caliber, which is one of the most popular hunting calibers, is more powerful than the military 7.62 by 51. So you don't want to get your 308 in your, what would fire that? M1A, AR-10. Are there any other military weapons that fire 7.62 that are commercially available? M1A, AR-10. I think that's about it. So you don't want to fire 308 in those. Egg Farm says M1A, yeah. Okay, so those are probably the two more common military style firearms. They're chambered in 7.6251. Don't want to fire 308 in those. So if you have a choice, okay, if you have a choice and you have both platforms, get 223. That can go into either weapon. If you have a choice and you have both platforms, get 7.6251 because that can go into both weapons on a regular recurring basis. Now, in an emergency, if you have one box of 7.6251 and one box of 308 and you have a 7.62 weapon, fire it. I don't think one box is going to do that much difference, okay? But I think that a constant overpressure from the wrong ammunition in that weapon will probably cause you some problems in the long run, okay? He also talks about pistols. He recommends revolvers, and absolutely essential to have a revolver. There's just the ease of use and maintenance and less moving parts. Remember the rule: the less number of moving parts, the easier, the less prone it is to failure. So revolver is probably going to be less prone to failure. But we're going to go back to Lee's adage: to everything there's an upside and a downside. The upside is less. So you're going to have less maintenance on a revolver, but you're also having less rounds. Okay, so modern semi-automatic pistols are going to have anywhere. Let's use a 1911. 1911 has 7 plus 1, 7 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 8 rounds. Okay, revolver has 6. Unless you have a speed loader, you've got to open the wheel, dump those 6 empty cartridges, and then put in 6 more. If you have a speed loader, I have a Ruger Security 6, which is a 357. It's the old police officer 357 Magnum, and I have Half Moon clips. So these speed loaders, but basically what you do is you just slap it in. The rounds are already in alignment with your wheel, so you just lay them in there and tap the end of it, and they're all in place. And you can close the cylinder, and that takes you less than a second to reload. On the other hand, a semi-automatic, push the button, magazine falls out, put a new magazine in, you've got it made. It's just great. So the advantage of the semi-automatic is that you've got more firepower in the sense of you have more rapid reloading, you have more ammunition in the magazine ready to go. But they do require maintenance, and they do require that you keep them clean. I know there's a lot of controversy out there. We aren't going to get into it. I have all three. But in the handgun, the semi-automatic, the 3 most popular are the 45 ACP, basically the M1911, which is the military that was replaced by the 9mm M2. And that's what was replaced when I left. They've gone through 3 different versions of 9mm now. They're on the 3rd 9mm handgun, whereas the 1911 lasted from 1911 all the way up until 1990. So that was a fairly good platform. I love the 1911. That's what I qualified with. Glock 21 is a good weapon. That's also 45 ACP. Glock 20 is, Glock 20 is 40 caliber. Then you've also got the Smith & Wesson 40 caliber semi-automatic. That weapon for a while replaced or was the service weapon for the FBI, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and a lot of other places. It does have a little bit more penetrating power. It does have a little bit more knockdown power than the 9mm, but everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. What they were finding with the FBI was that because of the kick that associated with the 40 caliber in comparison to the 9mm, that the second round was not always as on target as it is with the 9mm. So since they're taught to double tap, the first round was good. Second round was not that good with the 40 cal, whereas with the 9mm, both rounds were good. So they figured that they would rather give up a little bit of the body cavity the wound from the 40 caliber and go back to the 9mm. So almost everybody's gone to 9mm, to include the military and most police departments. Now, there is an argument out there that the 10mm is a very effective. But once again, remember that with a handgun, the more power you have in taking out the enemy, the more recoil you're going to have in the weapon. At the time, I had an Uzi carbine, and I took Helen when we were dating. Glock 23 for smart. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can tell Triple G. I have a 21, so that's all I really care about. 23 is the 40 Smith & Wesson, and 20 is the 10mm. Thank you. But anyhow, I took Helen to the firing range when we were in San Angelo, and she shot the Uzi first. And so Uzi was a heavy weapon. It was compact, and it was nice. It was all metal. I think there was a little bit of plastic on the hand grip, and that was about it. But it was about 8 pounds. And so she, using a pistol caliber carbine, she uses the pistol caliber, 9mm, bang, bang, bang. She's having a great time. Then I gave her my Smith & Wesson Model 59, which is aluminum frame with plastic handles. They've got a little bit of steel in it, but not that much. I told her, now, you've got the same ammunition, but you've got a lot lower weight to absorb the recoil. So, you've got to make sure you have a good grip on it, because when you pull the trigger, it's going to bounce, okay? Well, she pulled the trigger. She had a hammer indentation in her forehead. That's the difference in the different type of weapon that you're using for the same ammunition. The Uzi was heavy enough to where it absorbed all the recoil. Smith & Wesson Model 59 was not. Took me 30 years to get her to handle another handgun. But, that's... Fioxer says the magic number for the 10mm is just 1. It only takes 1 round to you don't have to double tap. Same thing with the 45 ACP. 45 ACP is subsonic, and it's just a butt kicker. I tell you what. The funny thing, so on the firing range, when you qualify with the 45, you have 50 rounds. Okay, different ranges, and sometimes it's only two rounds in the magazine. Sometimes you got 8. It just depends. You got different stances that they're testing you on, and all this other kinds of stuff. But you have 50 rounds. So, bang, bang, doing away with my target. We got done. Went down to get the target, bring it back, and somehow or other, out of 50 rounds, I hit my target 88 times. Now the MP in the next lane over only hit theirs 3. So he failed. I got better than expert, because some of my rounds split in half and made 2 holes and all that kinds of stuff. But anyhow, So the 45 is a fantastic weapon. I can't say enough for a 22. 22 long rifle. It's a fantastic little weapon, and it's great for people who can't handle a heavy weapon. Ruger has a fantastic LCP 22 caliber semi-automatic pistol that's great for youth and for people who have the inability to have steady control on a heavy weapon, handle recoil and everything else. That LCP is a fantastic little booger. The Ruger 1022 is a fantastic semi-automatic rifle. The original rotary magazine has 10-round magazine. You can get some aftermarket banana magazines that can have up to 25 rounds. I've seen, have not tested or tried, a 250-round drum magazine for the Ruger 1022. It would seem as if there would be a problem with chambering if you had that much weight on that little area that was designed to hold the little magazine of 10-round rotary. But, I don't know. I have never tried it, so I can't tell you one way or the other. I would prefer to probably run with the 20-round or 25-round banana magazine than I would with anything else. I also have a Henry 22 lever action. Now, I will tell you, with that Henry 22 lever action and a scope, you can reach out and tap a squirrel at quite a distance. So I would say, I would say that that 22 is probably accurate to 75, 80 yards. I would feel very comfortable firing it up to 80 yards. Probably would not want to go further than that, though. So, shotgun. Get the shotgun you can handle. I wish I could show you the difference in the barrel diameter between a 12 and a 20. In my opinion, go with the one that's right for you. Make sure you get the right barrel length. If you're getting, I would say the Mossberg makes a fantastic. Mossberg 500 is a fantastic brand and model number. I have a Mossberg 500 20 gauge. I have two Remington 870s. I have a long barrel one I use for duck hunting, bird hunting, things like that. And then I have a short barrel one for home defense. But the barrels are interchangeable. Once you get the frame, you can basically change the barrels out. And you can also change out the choke on your hunting shotgun. So that's very versatile. I can't tell you how much I am impressed with the pump action shotguns. They're just phenomenal. Now, I want a 410. I really want a 410 gauge shotgun. But we will see. We will see. I don't know. I don't know if I have any space for it in my safe. So, we'll just have to see. But you might want to consider also getting a longer range hunting rifle. Now, the popular calibers for hunting are 6mm, 7mm, 750, 308 is fantastic. 30-06, a great brush gun as far as deer hunting in the Texas mesquite. Helen just left. She let the dog out, and then she walked away. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back. So 308, 30-06 was a very popular hunting rifle for quite a while. But in the brush for deer hunting, I would say probably the most popular gun is going to be a 30-30 lever action. Are there any others? I'm sure there are, but really the most popular are probably going to be 7mm, 6mm, 7mm. 6mm is getting really hard to find ammunition for. 7mm, 308, 30-06, 45-70. Oh man, I would love to have a 45-70. That now, you talk about the 45-70 government. Okay, so what they did was they took the 45 round that they used for at that time back then it was for revolvers, and elongated it, made it to 45-70, and that was the government rifle round for quite a while. It finally got replaced by the 30-06. That 45-70, I'll tell you what, if you want to put a bruise on your shoulder, go fire a 45-70. That one will do a job. That also is a very common and popular caliber for the Henry and the Marlin lever action rifles. I've seen a lot of 45-70s in the lever action area. Yes, you're absolutely right, Utah Mike. That's a fantastic hunting. And I would say that that's probably the most popular gun to be used on some of the more aggressive and larger hunting, bear, elk, things like that. It was very commonly used for buffalo. So yeah, that's a very good heavy duty round. Don't use a 45-70 on a squirrel. There won't be anything left to eat. That's all there is to it. So Fiaxra says that he likes 22 lever action. So the Ruger 597 met his price point. That's another thing you have to consider. Okay, is what can you afford? I mean, for the longest time, there's a town north of us here, about an hour north of us here, called Lampasas on 183, and my mother-in-law lived in Brownwood, so it was a 2-hour drive straight up Highway 183. Lampasas was the halfway point. And they had a gun store on the west side of the road. I forget the name of it, but I would stop in there occasionally. And they had an M1A that oh gosh, I wanted it. It was $900. And I said, nah, gosh, $900 for a rifle, And so I didn't buy it. And then when the cough happened, I drove up to Brownwood one time, and I stopped in. The price had gone from $900 to $1,200. So I said, well, guns are getting kind of hard to come by during the cough. Everybody wants them. I came home, scrounged up $1,200 plus tax, which is another $100 sales tax. So it's $1,300. Got in the pickup, drove up to Lampasas, and I'll be doggoned if they hadn't sold it. So there went my chance. But anyhow, Caitlin Strange just has a PB pistol. You know what? When I was a kid, Crossman had a pump 45. It looked like an M1911A1, and it was a pump handle. And that's what I had. And my mom had a peeping Tom looking in her window, and she yelled or screamed, and I picked up my BB pistol. It looked just like a 1911, and ran into her room with it in my hands. I swear that guy in El Paso, every house has these rock fences around the backyard that are probably about 4 feet high. He cleared that like a hurdler. I mean, because he didn't take time to find out whether it was a BB pistol or a 45. He was gone. But yes, absolutely. Remington. Okay. Got that. Well, I think we've pretty much bantered the night away, and thank you all for being here. Remember, next week we're going to talk about 107, no, 106, I'm sorry. 106, and it's probably about 8 pages long in the book. I don't think we'll get too much further beyond that. A lot of great information. Oh no, let's do 106, then we'll do 107. We got a couple minutes. 106. If I do not have access to prescription pain relievers, what are my alternatives? So Mr. Jones was a licensed EMT, and so he has some solutions for you for how you can use over-the-counter drugs legally, and the safety limits of what you can take as far as a pain reliever in a post-apocalyptic world. I would add to that that if you can, ice packs. Now, if you don't have the ability to keep ice in your freezer, you won't have electricity or anything like that, or you don't think you will, get cold packs. You can always use cold to relieve pain. Okay, so when I get my allergy shots on Thursday, they're going to put anti-itch cream behind here on each arm. They're going to give me the injections, and they're going to put a little bitty freezer pack on each arm because of the pain of those shots. And then I get 2 more freezer packs, and I get 2 more Corbands that are big enough around for the arm. But anyhow, he has some good solutions for you. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Okay, I want you to read the book. So get this book, and then you can look it up and find out what he's recommending as far as using over-the-counter medications that you can safely take in order to relieve pain in a post-traumatic world. Now, here's another thing. Think back to what they did in the Wild Wild West. Okay, so alcohol was one of the things they used, and there's also another drug that knocked people out that you can have them inhale, and there are some recipes on. All you have to do is Google it. You can get a recipe for that, and that can kind of knock people out. Just do me a favor. If you're going to do that, make sure you read up on it, make sure you study it, because it can cause severe liver damage. You can basically kill a person if you give too much. And so, whatever you do, make sure you study up on it, and you have confidence that you are not going to injure somebody or exacerbate the existing problem or create a problem in order to do something. Because remember, my moral code is you can never do anything bad in order to accomplish something good. So if we're destroying their liver in order to get it bullied out of them, it's not a good thing. Okay. So, Book of Exodus. I think it's it's Numbers. Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. Yeah, it is Numbers. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. Please do me a favor. Stay safe in this Ice-mageddon that we have going on. Thank God it's not as bad here in the Austin area as we thought. Make sure you keep a fire watch if you have any kind of open flame. 3 homes burnt down the first night here in the Austin metro area. We don't want that to happen to you. Make sure you fire safety. Please, fire safety. Make sure that you keep an eye on that. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher, smoke detector, and carbon monoxide detector. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because you know what? I've got to go to sleep sometime, and so do you. So that means that we're all in this together. Take care, people. Bye-bye.